The mindset that a lot of people go into advertising with when they start designing an ad is, how can I make this immediately profitable? How do I generate a return on investment? So, for example, if I spend $5 on this advertisement, can I generate $7 in profit? But this is a very myopic perspective on how advertising works and how profitability works. This assumes that there's a linear short-term relationship between ad expenditures and ad results. And in some narrow cases, that's true, but it doesn't scale very well. And if we think about long-term profitability, sustainable profitability, it relies on economies of scale. So what we're talking about is we're investing in fixed costs that are spread across many different consumers. That's how economies of scale works. But when people think of advertising, they don't think of economies of scale. They're thinking in terms of linear payoff, which is the exact opposite of mindset that you need to have when you want growth. Now, when we're designing ads with broad advertising, we're not thinking about return on investment. What we're thinking about is memory. Are people remembering our brand? Because ultimately, that's what we need to do to build market share. But more specifically, what we're trying to do is build certain types of memories. So, does your brand come to mind in specific contexts? So, it's not just do you remember XYZ brand, it's do you think of this brand when something happens, when a particular buying event happens? Now, these events have different terms. So, for example, McKinsey, the top management consulting firm, calls it a trigger. So a trigger event might be something like a divorce, for example, or bankruptcy. Now, Byron Sharp calls it a category entry point. Now, maybe there's some slight differences between how these different people and organizations define them, but my perspective is that they're kind of getting at the same point, whether you're talking about a trigger or a category entry point. So a category entry point might be something like, I'm hungry in the morning. So what comes to mind? Am I thinking about McDonald's? Am I thinking about Starbucks? So those are the kinds of memory associations that you want. Now, at Harvard Business School, we have something called jobs to be done. What am I hiring the product to do? You might just call these specific use cases, which are usually triggered by some sort of event. So when these specific contexts occur, does your brand come to mind? And those are the memory connections you're trying to build. Event, brand. Trigger, brand. Category entry point, brand. I need this job to be done, brand. There's a specific use case. Your brand comes to mind. So let's think of a specific example. Let's say my muscles are sore from running and I need something for the pain. So this is the trigger event that happened. And then immediately you think of Tiger Balm. So you're going to buy this cream and you're going to put it on your calf muscles because you're so sore. That's the kind of memory association that Tiger Balm, if they did very effective long-term broad advertising, that's what it would look like. Somebody's sore from running and then Tiger Balm becomes the hero. So if we look more closely at this, this is really built on the idea of the customer journey. And the customer journey begins here with a trigger. So there's some sort of event that happens in their life that is largely outside of your control as an advertiser. You can't, to a large extent, control when people buy. People are going to buy because they have a need. You can influence that need. You can kind of use some gimmicks to get them to buy, but at scale, very, very difficult. Triggers happen. People get divorced, people get injured, people get hungry, people enroll in sports, so they need to buy sports apparel. People need new clothes because school is starting, or they need new clothes because their other clothes got ruined or got worn out. So triggers are happening all the time in people's lives. The key is you want to be in that consideration set, that initial consideration set of brands after the trigger happens. And the way you do that is by advertising that associates the trigger with your brand, and then you're going to basically have first dibs on people buying your product. So that's what the real customer journey looks like. Now, Memory is key because this is most of your growth. Most of your growth is going to come from people who are going to buy into the future. Now, that's not the mindset most people have when they run Facebook ads. They're thinking, can I get them to buy now? Can I get them to buy this month? Can I get them to buy in the next 3 months, this quarter, this half year? But really, if you think about most of the growth, it's going to come in the future because most people aren't experiencing that trigger right now, but they will spread over time. Now, the key is that you can start influencing their future decisions today. You can get mind share. You can get on their radar today so that when that trigger event happens, they'll think of your brand, they'll buy your product. Most of your opportunity lies in getting people to think of you in the future when some trigger event occurs that puts them in the market, that puts them in the buying mindset. So you have a choice to make. Are you going to run advertising that competes with every other brand out there that only caters to people that are in the shopping mindset now? Or are you going to do the much easier approach, which is to also target people that are out of market, that aren't in the buying mindset now, but are going to think of you in the future when that trigger event happens?